We all know that one of the most important things we can do for our students is encourage them to read. And as a classroom teacher in second grade and as a literacy coach and intervention teacher, the question I get most from parents is, how do I match my child to a book that will be a good fit for them? Not too hard, not too easy, but just right so that they enjoy reading and want to read more. There are a few tips we can offer you in that regard. When we talk about reading books in school, we'll often talk about books that are just right or a good fit. One analogy we can use that helps us understand this is choosing a book is like riding a bike. There are some books that are just right for you. There are some books that are too hard for you. And there are some books that might be too easy for you. If you're reading a book that is too hard, that book might be sort of an uphill book. You've really got to pedal or think hard to get through it. In an uphill book, on a single page, there might be 5 or more words that you don't know. Your reading could sound really bumpy, you don't understand what you're reading, and it's hard for you to stay focused. That book might be too hard. Doesn't mean you can't read it someday, but right now it's probably not the best fit. On the other end of the continuum, you might have books that are too easy, and those would be like riding your bike downhill. The books are so easy that there are no words that you don't know, maybe one, but really you can read most of the words on the page. You have perfectly smooth reading in a downhill book, no bumps or slowdowns. And really, in that type of text, your reading muscles aren't doing much work. You're just coasting down the hill. Now, to become a better reader, you've got to spend a lot of your reading time in books that are just right for you. Those just right books will give you a little bit of challenge so you can stretch those reading muscles and practice strategies, but they're not going to be so tough that you can't enjoy reading them. In a just right book, there may be 2 or 3 words you don't know on a page, but you understand most of what you're reading. Your reading's pretty smooth, and most importantly, your reading is really enjoyable. So let's take a look at a tool that could help parents and families help find a just right book for their own student when you're away from school. A tool that we use, and you can use at home, is called Scholastic Book Wizard. It can be found online at the web address you see on your screen. Scholastic is a publishing company, but they have lots of great resources available for us to use online. Their Book Wizard tool will let you search by title, by author or keyword, and find out more information about a book, including what level it is. So let's say you're at the library with your student. Perhaps you're looking with your second grader, and he or she really wants to read Diary of a Fly. It's a great picture book, really silly, good for giggles, but you're not quite sure if it's a book that your child should be reading on their own or maybe with you. Let's check the level. At our school, we use the guided reading level. Guided reading levels come from A through Z, so be sure to click that choice. This way, you can take information you learned from your student's teacher at conferences, and you'll be working on the same scale that we use to level books at our school. So let's check out Diary of a Fly. We're going to click Find Books, and let Scholastic pull from its database. We can see that the first result in our search is the book we're looking for, Diary of a Fly. Here's a picture of the cover right here. Now I can take a peek and see that the guided reading level is level L. So if you know for your student that he or she is reading at a level L or greater, that means that this book would probably be a good independent pick for them. If your student's reading close to a level L, then it could still be a good fit for independent reading. But if your child's reading far below a level L, then this would be a great book to read to them. If you'd like to know a little more about the book, you can click on the title, and Scholastic will provide you with a brief book summary, a little bit about the author, and you'll also see that reading levels can be displayed on different scales. So if for some reason you're looking on another scale, lots of schools use Lexile or DRA, that information would be here for you too. Now, here's something else that's really cool about Scholastic. Say that your child already knows they love Diary of a Fly. Well, let's try to find some books that might be like Diary of a Fly. On the right side of your screen, you can move your cursor to the Book Alike tab. Click to find some similar books. So again, Scholastic will look in its database, which does not include every book under the sun, but it includes a lot of them that are available in our libraries, in our classrooms, and through Amazon or your local bookstore. So we see that the reading level at the same level will yield Gotta Go, which I have not read, but I have to say that title and picture makes me want to read it. Your student might be interested in reading The Caterpillar and the Pollywog, or any of the other books that come up from the Book Alike search. You can see there's a theme here that we're reading books about insects, some of which are fiction, some of which are nonfiction, and you might find another great book for your child using that Book Alike feature. If you are looking for a book that's similar, you can also use the Book Alike search from the top of the Scholastic page. Or one more feature I'd like you to see is how you can search by reading level alone and get a list of books that you might choose from. Let's click there now. We're going to search by reading level A to Z. You'll want to make sure on this tab that you have selected guided reading because again, that is the system we use in our school to find levels. You could also search by grade level equivalents, DRA levels. It looks like we've got to hang on for a second. You could also search by DRA levels or Lexile measures. But let's move back to looking at the guided reading level. Let's say your student happens to be a first grade student working at the beginning of the year and they're working right on grade level. So they came out of kindergarten reading a level D text. We'll choose level D, but you know that you also want some books that you might read to your child. So let's scroll up a couple of levels and we'll look for books that are ranging from level D to level F. Click Find, and Scholastic is going to generate a list of books that are in that level. Now that's not nearly enough to choose a book for your student. So you'll also want to look under the Browse By section on the left side of your screen. And you can narrow your results by looking at interest level by age. Let's click grades 1 through 2 because we said our student happens to be a first grader. And that will narrow books to those that Scholastic has determined that kids of that age generally like. And then let's say your student is really interested in arts and creative learning. So we'll click Arts and Creativity under Theme and Subject to narrow our search even further. Here you'll find a few suggestions of books that your student might be interested in reading. Now here's the thing, this is definitely not an exhaustive list of books, but when you go to the library, if you already know that you found a few titles, sharing this with the public librarian can help them help you find more books that your child will be interested in. And you may find that your student wants to read all of the books on the list, and what could be better than that? So this has been a brief overview of how you might think about choosing books with your student and how you could use one free online tool to narrow down the books that you might look for when you're at the library or searching for books to purchase for your at-home library. As always, if you have any questions about matching your reader to books, the first person you should ask is your student. The second person you can ask is your classroom teacher or anyone else at our school. We're always here and happy to help. Happy reading!